we get it rolling on the Krueger Show. Hope everybody's having a great night. Tuesday night, Raj in the house on Tuesday nights. I was down at minicamp today. My Little League team eliminated in the playoffs this evening. That's right. Goodbye, Braves. We couldn't hit enough. Couldn't pick up the baseball. My kid did strike out the side tonight in the last inning, so it was enjoyable to watch him come out of the bullpen and throwing cheese. But the Braves get eliminated in the double elimination. Pleasant Hill, Little League, 14Us. We are done. So anyway, good year. Good year for the Braves. Actually, it wasn't that good of a year. It was just a marginal year, but it was fun to be out there with the kids. It was fun to be in Santa Clara today watching the Niners. And of course, we're brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Check them out. They're in Emeryville and Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out. Pig and a Pickle. And thanks to Underdog Fantasy as well. Check the link in the description. Use the promo code KRUEG, KRUEG, and they'll match you up to your first $100. And also thanks to Sharp Corner Sports Cards and Collectibles. They're down in the Monterey Peninsula. Great little company. And if you're a big collectible fan, that's where you need to go for your collectible needs. And they are in Monterey. Give Anthony Catania a call. He's at 831-521-5264. And great sports cards and sports collectibles place. All right. And proud sponsors of the Krueger Show. Raj, I was down in Santa Clara today. The Niners held mini camp. We talked to Brock Purdy. We talked to Kyle Shanahan. We talked to Jair Brown. We talked to Nick Bosa. There was no Brandon Ayuk. There was no Jawan Jennings. I didn't see Cam Latu. A lot of the guys that are rehabbing injuries, Drake Jackson, Talanoa Fonga, were working out on the side. George Kittle was in sweats. He was not working out. Debo was out there, and Brock Purdy was out there. The 49ers coaching staff was getting the look at this was voluntary. So guys who skipped, it's not like, well, where are they? It's voluntary. You know, they can skip if they want, and some of the guys did. Before I lead you in any direction, Raj, what's your takeaway from minicamp?
Yeah, first and foremost, I'm happy we're here at OTAs. This is like getting closer to the nitty gritty. My takeaway is, yeah, obviously there's certain players that didn't show up. You know, Brandon Ayuk, he's in a contract situation. Jennings, he hasn't signed his tender. Christian McCaffrey. It's okay if he doesn't show up. But Cam Latu didn't show up today.
It's like, where the hell are you, Cam Latu? It's seriously, you couldn't catch anything last year.
I get it. It's optional, and Kyle's like, I'm not worried if these guys don't show up. Cam Latu has no right, unless he's hurt, which I don't know if I haven't heard of anything. If he's not hurt, Cam Latu needs to be getting every single rep known to man right now. So that's my takeaway. Why is he not there? Like, I don't care if Trent Williams isn't there, Christian McCaffrey. I know George Kittle and Mooney Ward, they're dealing with the core injury, and stuff like that. Nick Bosa was there. That man's never had OTAs. Nick Bosa was there. That's a leader. But you know who wasn't there? Cam Latu. Consider that man in the doghouse right now. That's crazy.
The Kyle doghouse or the Raj doghouse?
Both. He's in both doghouses.
Well, seriously. The only thing that could be hurt on Cam Latu is his face mask could be bruised from the number of times balls ricocheted off of it in training camp last summer. I mean, he may have a bruised, face mask. Other than that, I mean, yeah, where are you? I mean, you were a third round draft choice. You were a colossal disappointment. I would get there as early and stay late and, try to hope that you make the roster.
Bro should have been the first one.
My man Mason Pline looked good today.
There you go. That's a problem.
And you know who else looked good? I thought was Eric Saubert.
Oh my God.
The veteran tight end they signed.
Yeah.
So they don't have to go with Cam Latu. I mean, it's not like Cam Latu is like one of these you got to have him kind of players.
No.
So he better get it rolling pretty soon.
Not looking good. I saw someone in your comments said he didn't catch the memo of OTAs.
Yeah.
And that's bad, bro.
Ricocheted off of his helmet. Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, seriously, Camla too.
So
Where
bad.
are you? Um, as far as we said we titled the stream "The Good and the Bad." I don't know that there's a lot of bad from minicamp. I mean, if you can always look for the bad. I mean, I personally thought like Brock Purdy looked pretty good today. He's in great shape. He was throwing it around. He looked pretty comfortable. And then I heard other people say that Brock Purdy was 0 for 4 and he badly misfired. I don't know. I mean, to me, he seemed like he was pretty comfortable moving around. What you're looking for is shake off the rust,
Mhm.
get out there with your new teammates. Don't get hurt. I mean, everybody's got a different deal based on their status on the team. But for a guy like him, who's been to the Super Bowl in his second year, and you just want to see him get in there, get some reps with Pearsall, get some reps with Cowing, especially with Debo and Ayuk and Jennings. Or Debo was there, but with Ayuk and Jennings out, there's more reps for Cowing and Pearsall. I asked Brock about Cowing,
Yeah.
and you could see him kind of light up. I mean, he definitely likes Cowing. He also said that he's been working with Pearsall, but what Cowing gives them is just a guy who's had 1,000 yards receiving in each of the last 3 years, who runs 4.38. So it's like he's a productive guy and he runs fast for the stopwatch, and he'll create a lot of space. And as accurate as Purdy is, and as much space as Cowing can potentially create, that's an overwhelming positive when you think about what those two guys might be able to accomplish together.
Yeah, no, it's good. I don't think he was there. Cowing dressed up, right? I heard he didn't
I
play,
didn't see
but
him in the practice, but I
yeah,
mean, I'd asked Purdy about playing,
I
throwing to him, and I guess he said he had.
yeah, I saw that. I think I posted a collab on IG. I saw that, so that was good. And that's what it is. OTAs right now, like half of these guys, like I said, aren't there. CMC, a lot of the players rehabbing. I really don't care if they're 10 for 10 on OTAs or 0 for 10. I don't. They just need to be there to get the reps, get the rust off, like you said. To me, that's what it is trying to get back in shape, get back in the football world. Get there with your guys, with the squad, the teammates, and stuff like that's what it's about. OTAs, it's the early stages. Rookies need to really kind of learn the ropes because in training camp, that's when things really start picking up and start mattering. You get to your conditioning and stuff. Right now, these players are just getting back into the groove. They seem pretty locked in. All their answers are Brock Purdy said, "Hey, look, man, if Nick Bosa's taking this serious, we all got to take this serious." So I like that quote. I'm not worried if they're missing their targets on on OTAs day one. I'm really not. I'm not going to lose any sleep over it, Larry. If somebody does, got some problems there. Yeah, it's just nice to see these guys back. Again, there's certain players that need to be there, Cam Latu, and there's certain players that, hey, they're just there to make sure they're getting the ring rust off, and that's the way I look at it.
One of the surprising moments I thought from the Shanahan presser was Mayoko started the presser by asking him if he was in any way disappointed, discouraged, or whatever about the schedule,
No, yeah.
the lack of the negative rest days, where the 49ers have the worst rest, ratio of any team in the NFL. And Shanahan, who's like, obviously is takes every aspect of football seriously. He's like, not that big a deal. I'm like, I was shocked. I mean, the Ravens and you are both contending for the Super Bowl, and they will have, compared to you, 37 more days of collective rest over a 4-month football season. 37 days over 4 months seems like an enormous advantage. And yet Shanahan was like, it doesn't, it's always, sometimes it doesn't play out that way. And some of the times this factors in and that factors in. It made me wonder if like the league just put out a, kind of a internal memo of just like, the schedule cannot be changed. It's not to anybody's advantage to say anything negative about it. So either beg out or say positive things or say nothing, because it's like, how could you're back-to-back years where the 49ers have the worst rest differential of any team in pro football. And Shanahan's just like, yeah, not a big deal. Might be a factor, it might not. I'm not sweating it. You know, it's like he's like, weren't we the biggest rest disadvantage last year? And people were like, yeah, you were. Well, yeah, well, you know, it's like it's just amazing to me considering how many little minutia things football people typically think are a big deal, and yet all this rest. I mean, the team that gets home field advantage in the playoffs, I've heard it said before that the real advantage is not playing at home. The real advantage is the week off.
Mm-hmm.
So if that's true, if that week off at the end of the year is so freaking unbelievably vital that it's you know, it's the all important week off, then why isn't 37 days of rest advantage for the Ravens compared to you a factor? I don't know. Seems like selective reasoning to me.
I mean, I think he knows it's an issue. Obviously, last year, like you said, they were the most, disadvantaged team. Obviously, back-to-back years, whatever. But there's nothing Kyle can do. Like, he can't cry over spilled milk. I'm sure he's pissed. I'm sure he's like, I'm sure the players are like, dude, what the heck? Like, we're as fans, we're pissed, right? Like, we talked about this before the schedule, me and you brought that up, and the rest factor, all these teams coming off a bye week. Like for us, we understand how tough it is. The players, I'm sure they do. They made it to the Super Bowl last year, right? They got, NFL is a tough game. You're going to get banged up. But honestly, I think what you said earlier is, there's nothing Kyle can say because the schedule can be changed. So you just got to deal with it. It's kind of like tough shit. It sucks, though. Like, honestly, it does suck looking at the schedule and be like, man, we're at a disadvantage. But
well, and it is a factor.
It is.
If you looked at the Chiefs last year, they had a rest disadvantage in 5 games. They went 2-3 in those games, and went 1-4 against the spread. In the rest of their games, they kicked butt and covered like 80% of the time.
It catches up to you. Like, not gonna lie, I don't know if we can do back-to-back years. Injuries can pile up. I knock on wood. We stay healthy relatively. I mean, for the most part, team was pretty healthy, but some of the big injuries came towards the end of that season. Charles Omenihu got hurt. Or not Charles Omenihu. It was who's the other? Clelin Ferrell. Sorry, he got hurt last year.
Ferrell, yeah.
And then Dre Greenlaw got hurt. Charvarius Ward played through the core injury. George Kittle had the injury. So towards the end, it did kind of catch up with them. But again, I don't think Kyle has any. He can't sit there and cry and pout to Roger Goodell. He's not going to change it. So it does suck, though, man. I wish the league wouldn't have done that. Back-to-back years is kind of crazy. It is kind of crazy back-to-back years. So
it was good to see Dobbs today. Saw Purdy and Dobbs and Brandon Allen and Tanner Mordecai, and I thought Dobbs really does move really well. I mean, for a guy who's got pretty good height too, he's a great athlete. I mean, you can just see just the way he moves around. And so I thought their quarterbacks looked interesting. I thought their receivers, even without Ayuk and JJ, a lot of depth at receiver, a lot of depth at running back, even without McCaffrey. I think the one thing that kind of jumped out at me too was that the 49ers have a lot more quality depth options on the offensive line. Now, I don't know if any of those guys are going to start right away. Maybe Pooney, maybe Drake Nugent. We'll see. You were mentioned before that Jake Brendel's got knee tendonitis and he's going to miss the OTAs.
That's a big one.
Do you think the Niners go to training camp with the exact same starting 5 offensive linemen that they finished in the Super Bowl? Or do you think that Pooney or Nugent or maybe Kingston or maybe even one of the veterans slides in, and by the time we get to training camp, it's not the same 5 guys as last year?
I mean, I'm sure there's going to be players that are going to compete. They added a few offseason, acquisitions, but I don't think any of them are good enough to take down who they have at all line. The only one I could see maybe taking a spot is Pooney. I think he has a legitimate chance to take that right guard spot, but Feliciano's a dog, 10-year vet, and I think he's going to be hard to beat out, Unfortunately, towards the end of the season, he did get hurt. They had to take him off that in the Super Bowl. He missed some time, and as a costly loss. And I think Feliciano really proved himself last year. So I do think Pooney is a guy that could come in and try to compete. Now, also the Jake Brendel, situation, to me, that's a big thing. I don't know if Nugent's going to be good enough right away as an undrafted player to slide in and be a starting center. Kyle loves, Brendel, how he
First
fits.
team All Big Ten though last year.
I get it. I know, and I watched a lot of Michigan games. You didn't hear his name, so obviously he was doing something right. But Jake Brendel, man, he worked his way up. I feel like the roster spot that could be up for grabs is center. Maybe Pooney could play inside because he's very versatile. That's what he said. He could play every position. So that's a guy, Pooney, that can maybe sneak his way into that roster as a starter right away. I don't think Kingston, the kid from USC, is going to start anytime soon. Everybody else, honestly, I'm not really thinking is good enough to start right now. So it's probably that center spot, but I hope that Jake Brendel is ready to rock and roll for training camp. That's what Kyle's saying, but that to me is a big one. I don't know if Pooney's going to be able to beat out Feliciano. So I think if everybody's healthy, we're rolling with the same starting five.
I would love to see Pooney at right guard and Nugent at center. I just think that they need a little bit more juice in that line. We'll see. I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of Brendel. Feliciano, I thought was effective last year. I really liked Burford 2 years ago. Last year, he kind of regressed. I think for the most part, I really like what I see out of Colton McKivitz, but there have been some, he's had some rough days at the office, most notably week 1 against TJ Watt. I just would like to see the Niner interior offensive line, according to Pro Football Focus, was like 28th in the NFL out of 32 teams. So I'd like to see some upgrades. I'd like to see them try to upgrade the thing a little bit and not just go with status quo. I mean, just because you're going to go with Nugent or go with Pooney doesn't mean you have to cut Feliciano or cut Brendel. You could always bring those guys off the bench. I actually think Feliciano might be more ideally suited to coming off the bench. So that's kind of how I see the Niner offensive line. The defensive line, Kyle commented today that it was great to see Leonard Floyd out there.
Mm-hmm.
In a lot of ways, I think when I watch Floyd, it's like he's scheme versatile. He's got a great motor. He's got a great burst. I just think when you think of him right now, if you want to say where are the Niners better than where they were last year, they're better opposite Nick Bosa with Floyd over Gregory or Chase Young or anybody else that took snaps at opposite Bosa at defensive end. Beal, Drake, Floyd gives you, I think, the best defensive end combo you've had under Shanahan.
I agree. I think he's the best edge rusher they've had on the opposite side of Bosa. I think he's going to do what we all thought D Ford was going to do, but he can never stay healthy. This guy has been consistent. He doesn't miss games, knock on wood. I think at least 9 sacks a season for the last 4 years. This guy's a monster, man, and he looked pretty explosive on the clips they showed today. I'm sure you saw him, and I'm sure you looked at him, but the guy's very consistent. I definitely think he's way better than Chase Young. I love Chase. I think it was cool for Bosa because they were boys, but this guy's very talented, and he's so consistent, and I think that was the missing key with Chase Young, his consistency and work ethic, and this guy, Leonard Floyd, looks like he's light years ahead. I mean, he's a veteran. He's been in the league for a long time. He knows the system. He's played under Staley before when he was at the Rams, so he kind of knows how this team works. The other guy I was intrigued with today, I saw Gross Matos, Yetur Gross Matos. He was out there today.
Yeah.
Jordan Elliott was out there. So it looks their D-line really, I feel like they made some good improvements. I know they're not big name guys, but I think the guys they brought in, and Malik Collins, who wasn't there because he had a family thing, I think the guys they brought in are going to really be impressive. I mean, yeah, we lost Armstead, but I think Elliott and Malik Collins, to me, it might be an upgrade because they can stay healthy.
Well, they got younger. They got younger, and as you said, Malik Collins wasn't there. We didn't get a chance to look at him. I think he's coming out next week. He's waiting for his kids to finish up school.
Yeah.
He's going to be intriguing. Jordan Elliott, I think maybe the Niners could catch lightning in a bottle there and get the best football of Elliott's career. I really liked Elliott at Missouri, but it's pretty undeniable that he's been disappointing with Cleveland. But now he gets a new lease on life here in San Francisco. One thing, not to start controversy, but when the team did huddle up, everybody was in the center of the huddle except for Devondre Campbell, who was off to the side, who didn't jump into the team huddle. I wonder if he feels a little funny on the first day, as a former Packer and a guy who's competed against the Niners, just immediately jumping in the huddle. I don't know. I didn't get a chance to talk to him about it, but I did notice he was the only player that wasn't in the huddle when the team huddled up was Devondre Campbell. He came running over, but then ran off to the side and never joined the rest of the team.
I think you're looking into it too much. The other day, I don't know if you saw him.
He wants out.
No. No.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, coming over, maybe he wants to ease into it a little bit.
Maybe an easy trend, but I don't know. I don't think so, because check it out. So when he signed with the Niners a couple of months ago, so he went crazy on Twitter. I don't know if he went on he was tweeting like crazy. He was talking about how, I got a few of the tweets. He goes, the organization didn't even call me to ask if I wanted to take a pay cut. They just released me after going into the media and saying me and Aaron Jones were a part of the future plan. Like, he was like ripping. He was like, this is the truth. He goes, there's so much I could say, but for the longest, I just kept myself and kept taking the blame. Like, it went on, like tweet after tweet after tweet. The other day, he tweets, and this is a couple months after the free agency period. He goes, I can't even lie. I'm having so much fun playing football again. The situation I was in with the Packers was making me lose my love for the game, but I'm back having fun again, and I love that for myself. Thank you, God. So I feel like he's very happy being on the Niners.
He's energized by the Niners being a Niner.
Kind of thriving. So although I know he may not have I just think he's just trying to absorb it all in, Larry. I think he's just trying to absorb it, take it in. He's happy. He's got a new lease on life. And why wouldn't you want to be on the Niners, right? You're defending.
Well, it's a tall task to replace Dre Greenlaw. You're talking about a team that's got Super Bowl aspirations and a pretty damn good linebacking core and a great linebacker coach in Johnny Holland. The Niners have a lot of positive things, and they've done a nice job at eyeballing good linebackers, which leads me to my next question. What do you think? Is Campbell going to be the starter opposite, Warner all year? I don't see Greenlaw coming back anytime soon. People talk about, well, he may only miss 6 weeks. In what universe can a guy rip out his Achilles in February and be back in October? That's just outrageous. I just can't. I hope that's a right estimate, but I don't think so. If you said to me, when will you expect him? I would say definitely in December. It's going to take a while. He hurt the thing in February. Yeah. He's got to be out at least 10 months, I think.
At least, it's a tough injury to come back. We saw
maybe he misses the whole year.
We saw Aaron Rodgers come back like crazy, and Drake Greenlaw, he's built different. We say that a lot, but I don't know. I think he could come back mid-season. If you want to be safe, because you don't want to rush him back to get a re-aggravation or re-injury. But I think Campbell will start until the day Greenlaw is ready. The day Greenlaw is coming back, sit yourself on the bench, Campbell, because this is Drake Greenlaw's time to shine. The guy's a dog. He's in a contract season, so he's going to come back and try to push himself to the limit. It's just the way he plays. He knows one speed, and that's top speed. So I think once Greenlaw feels like he's ready to go and he can play at that level, he'll be back. And that's the key, though, because Greenlaw's used to playing at such a high intensity, very high energy. I don't think he'll be ready to play until he knows he can handle that. Because if he goes out there and plays his frenetic pace, he can get injured again. So I think the team's going to be very careful with him. I say mid-season, some way. He's been working his tail off. A few months ago, he posted how he says, I'm relentless. And I don't know. I feel like he could be back by mid-season. But the moment he comes back, Larry, Campbell's sitting himself on the bench. I'm sorry, but he's not going to be Drake Greenlaw.
No. Greenlaw is, he's a special player for sure.
Yeah.
I'm also eager to see, because usually in pro football, the biggest improvement you see is year 1 to year 2. In the regular season, it's like week 1 to week 2, but in a career, it's year 1 to year 2. And I just think that between D. Winters, who's a really instinctive, fast football player who just needed to work on his kind of lower body legs, strength and explosion. I'm eager to see what he looks like in year 2. I'm super eager to see what Jalen Graham looks like in year 2. And if these guys make the kind of improvement that I'm anticipating they're going to make, I think they're going to be really, really deep at linebacker, and they'll have their options of several good options of, because I think Jalen Graham's a starter. I really do. I think D Winters has starter potential. So we'll see. I expect both those guys to show up this summer and be quite a bit better.
Yeah.
And that'll be nice because they're losing in Greenlaw, a very very special player. The
Yeah.
other guy that we got a chance to talk to today that is just he's so impressive every time I meet this guy and talk to this guy, and that's Jair Brown.
Mm.
Jair Brown is just such an impressive guy. And he was asked about the Super Bowl, and he's like, "I'm still not over it." And he wasn't just BSing. You could tell he was being genuine, and that's what level of competitor he is. That it just still gnaws at him that they lost the Super Bowl. But another guy that last year he, sat the bench till it was his time. Then there was the right injury. He took the field. Then they needed him. By the end of the year, they were really depending on him. He had a big interception of Mahomes in the Super Bowl. He was awesome in the playoffs. I think he could make. I mean, to me, he looks like he's jacked. Like
Yeah.
he looks like he's put on like 5 or 6 good pounds of upper body muscle. He just looks like he's been, lifting a lot. And year 1 to year 2, especially with an instinctive player like him, I think he could really take off this year and become one of the Niners' great players, one of their leading players this year.
I think
I know people aren't expecting that, but I do expect him to make a major leap forward. And he already was good last year.
Yeah, he flashed in his the opportunities he got. He took advantage of the ops, and by the end of the season, man was picking up Patrick Mahomes. Like this guy was looking like a star. I mean, that was their first pick they made last year, draft pick. Like traded up to get him. They have high expectations for this guy, and I think that he's got all the potential in the world. The guy was a star at Penn State. Like he looks the part of a star safety, and I think he will be. You could just tell the way he speaks. And the way he's kind of processed the game. He says, last year was hard. It was tough coming in as a rookie, just trying to learn everything, all the expectations. He goes, now I know what they expect. He says it's a lot easier. The game slowed down. He said that today. He also said that last week at the Dwight Clark foundation last week, and he was talking and he said that he says, you know what, the difference between this season, year 2, and rookie season, he's just night and day. And I love that because I think the game has slowed down, and now he's got that leadership mentality, like you said, and he was like a leader at Penn State. He reminds me of a young Fred Warner. Fred Warner had that like leadership edge, just that tenacity that brings out superstars and players. And I really see this guy becoming the next big defensive star on the Niners. I think he's going to take the leap. I know we say that a lot about a lot of players every year, Drake Jackson, but I genuinely, when I see Jair Brown, like he's got it. He's got it. And the safety department right now, he's going to be top dog. Hufunga's coming off ACL. There's no Gibson. He's the guy. He's going to lead the safety department this year. I'm hyped up for Jair Brown. Yeah.
Is he going to play free safety, you think, or you think he's going to play strong safety?
I think he's going to play free, honestly, the way it's looking like, the way he's just kind of going out of there. But, I mean, it all depends on how Talanoa Hufanga comes back from this injury. He's going to dictate a lot. I heard he was out there rehabbing. He was on the side field, so that's encouraging. But, honestly, it all depends on how, strong Hufanga is, how much, stability he has on the knee. Can he go sideline to sideline? Because Jair could do it all at safety. He's got the instincts. He could play the run. Inside the box, he could play safety. He's got the coverage skills. Like he's a total package at safety. So he could do it all, honestly. But it really depends on Hufanga.
They don't have great depth at safety, but they may have great talent between Hufanga, Jair Brown. I asked Brown about Malik Mustafa, and he just said, "Hey, try to take it slow as a rookie." And Jair made a great point that this last year for him was the longest year of his life. I mean, you think about it, you play college football, then there's the bowl game, and he played in the bowl game his final year. He was the MVP of the Rose Bowl against Utah. Then he goes into the draft prep. Then it's the combine. Then it's the pro day. Then it's the draft. Then it's the rookie minicamp. Then it's the regular minicamp. Then you're into training camp. Now you're into the preseason. You got almost a 20-week season. And then you got playoffs and you went to the Super Bowl. I mean, this guy literally, and he even said it, he said that he's still feeling the physical effects of of how much football he played last year. I mean, if
No.
you really think about it, it really is. He played, and for some rookies, this is kind of the way it goes.
Yeah.
He didn't start early in the year, but if he had, he would have played the equivalent of a full calendar year
Whew.
with hardly any breaks.
That's tough. That's why the rookies hit that
Pretty
rookie
amazing.
wall. That's
Yeah.
why a lot of those rookies, they hit the rookie wall. If they're in a good team and they make a deep run, you're right. They go into a bowl game, then there's the combine, prep, pro day, blah, blah, blah. If you're starting early, you hit that wall. I think that's really what happens to a lot of these rookies that kind of fall off. Like Drake Jackson, first year, he's a good example. USC, they got a pretty deep run, draft prep, all that stuff. He became pretty much an early part of the rotation. He was playing early that rookie season. By week 10, 11, Kyle's like, sit on the bench. You don't have the stamina. And I think
Right.
that's what it was. Everything caught up with him, and it was just like he couldn't hang. He couldn't last 12 plays on the field because he was too tired. So it's tough being a rookie, but I think that's what Jair said. He goes, this year's a lot easier. Last year was tough. He goes, it was hard last year. So it's like he said, he was gassed out. But that's why I think now the game slowed and he's put on a lot of muscle. I've seen him post a lot on his social media of him, all his workouts. He looks quicker. He looks lean. He just looks like he has it. I don't know. There's just something about him. And I think him and Mustafa, he's kind of taking that guy under his wing. It's crazy. He's a second-year player. He's already acting like a veteran. That's why I say, like, he's got that mentality that you want in a star player. It's exactly how Fred Warner was. He would take players under his wing, and you're like, how's this guy doing? He's second year. How does he know it? But some people have that it factor, and I think Jair Brown has it.
Where are the 49ers better for sure than they were last year? Where on the field, when you look at their roster top to bottom, where could you point to and say, you know what, they're better here than they were last year?
I mean, definitely, I think edge, defensive line. I think they improved at defensive line. Like we talked about Leonard Floyd. I think that's an improvement. Honestly, I think wide receiver depth. They got a lot of wide receivers. I was having this conversation with someone today. Like, okay, you got Persal, you can have IU, you can have Debo, you can have Jennings, you got Cowling, you got Trent Taylor, you got a lot of these guys. They got a lot
Ronnie
of
Bell, Chris
Bell. Who are they going
Conley.
to cut this year? So I think wide receiver depth looks fantastic. Obviously running back depth too, because you added, Isaac Garendo, you added the undrafted kid Cody
Schrader.
Schrader, and you still have J.P. Mason, who should be better. Elijah Mitchell's the odd man looking in, and then of course CMC. So I think the offense weapons look a little bit improved. Defensive line. Now on the flip side, offensive line, like you said, needs to be upgraded, and I don't think they upgraded enough, which I think was their big hole, and they didn't address it. I think linebacker took a hit with the Greenlaw being down, but as you mentioned, they have great young linebackers. They got a great linebacker coach, so I think they'll be okay. They're one of the most talented teams at linebacker, so it's a wash. And then the other position where I feel took a huge hit is tight end, man. Again, Cam Latu needs every rep he can get. So I don't know. I'm a little not too thrilled about the tight end spot right now and offensive line. Everything else I think is at least as good, maybe a slightly better. Cornerback looks like they got some good depth too.
Yeah, I would say to me, they look a little bit better on the back end because I think Renardo Green, Malik Mustafa, that right there, I think you're adding two good young players who are both kind of feisty and physical. I think that's you've added two nice players to your back end. So that's big because I think you needed more talent back there than they had. And I think they added definitely some depth to both offensive and defensive line, and definitely depth at running back and wide receiver.
Yeah.
The question I guess I would have would be like, are you good enough at tight end as you sit right now? Seems like they really are leaning so heavily on George Kittle. If Kittle has any kind of an injury and they were forced to go a month, playing with their backup tight end, I mean, that would really hurt.
Yeah.
That could really, because there's a major step down from Kittle to whoever the second tight end is. So that's kind of a concern to me. I'm definitely concerned about losing Greenlaw when you factor in what he meant to the run D. I just overall between Hufanga who's, tore the ACL. He's working his way back, but who knows when. Greenlaw, who was just an awesome run defender, and then Armstead, who was probably their best run defender, defensive lineman. Are the Niners going to be really struggling to stop the run, or are the guys that they brought in going to, fill the bill and be good against the run? To me, that's a big question, because they really did struggle to stop the run in the playoffs.
They did, and you know what though? I think they will be at least the same. I mean, I think they'll be better against the run, because I know Armstead was so good against the run. That was his thing. He missed a lot of games last season. So in playoffs was a different story. But again, he played coming back from a major injury, and as we found out, he played through a meniscus injury in the playoffs. So maybe that was part of it. You got Collins and Jordan Elliott. I honestly think they're going to be very helpful in this run defense. Now I know Greenlaw is a big loss, and Hufanga, hopefully he can be back to his former self. I think they added enough guys where they can kind of neutralize where they were. It's up to Sorensen and Brandon Staley to really figure out how they can stop the run, because you're right. Towards the end of the season, it was kind of embarrassing how they got ran over by every team. So definitely an issue. And I do agree with you. Like, as I mentioned, cornerback was an upgrade. I'm really hyped up, as we talked a couple weeks ago. Renardo Green, that guy is physical. I heard some stuff. How did he look today in training camp? Was he?
He didn't stand out to me. But the defense, I mean, I was on the side of the field with the offense. He was working out on the other field. But I mean, I'm eager to see what he looks like this preseason and this summer, because he's a hyper aggressive player who kind of out hits his body. In that way, he's kind of like Jimmy Ward. Jimmy Ward would really come up and deliver big hits. Well, this guy does as well, and he's only about 185 pounds, 190 pounds. So, I'm eager to see what he looks like on the field. But as far as, coverage and hitting, and is he as physical? I mean, at Florida State, he was a very physical defender. Yeah. What's he going to be in the NFL with the Niners? It's hard to say. But to me, Mustafa at safety and Green at corner. And I agree with you wholeheartedly on the depth at corner between Isaac Yadam and Rock Yassin and Luter and Womack and Thomas. And, they do have a lot of numbers at corner. So they're a little on the thin side at safety. They could probably use an extra safety. But, man, they sure have, the goal is to wind up with 5 or 6 good corners, and they probably have 8 or 9 in their camp to choose from. So that's a good sign. Depth on the corner is a good thing.
Definitely. And, the 49ers, they like to, if a guy's versatile and he could play another position, they wouldn't hesitate to do it. So one of those cornerbacks might become a safety, or like Rock Ya-Sin or somebody. He can play DB if he's able to. I know Shanahan loves to move guys around. He did it with Jimmy Ward, right? So there's players that they kind of use and rotate all over the line. So we'll see. I do agree with you in terms of George Kittle. I love the guy, but he's not getting any younger. And if he gets hurt, I don't know what the hell they're going to do at tight end. And he's coming into this training camp off of core muscle surgery, right? He had the same surgery at the same place as Mooney Ward. So it's not like he's coming in super fresh, healthy. I mean, I hope he could stay through the season healthy, but they use Kittle to do a lot, blocking, catching. He's a super tight end. And, I mean, if he misses any time, oh man, it's gonna be tough. But
they're gonna make a tight end acquisition. I was reading a Bleacher Report story yesterday on players that potentially could get cut or traded or released somehow this summer, maybe at the cut down. And there were 2 or 3 tight ends on there. One was Mo Alley Cox with the Colts, who's a free agent at the end of the year. He's got no more guaranteed money left on his deal. They're really deep at tight end. They're trying to get Will Mallory more snaps, the former Miami Hurricane. So that could be Mo Alley Cox could be available. Some people think Darren Waller, could become available, that the New York Giants, that he may either retire or they may move on from him or they may cut him. The other name was Harrison Bryant, who's now with the Raiders, but then the Raiders signed him in free agency and then went out in the draft and took Brock Bowers, and they have Michael Mayer. So a lot of speculation that, with Bowers and Mayer there, that Harrison Bryant may get cut. And if he's cut, I mean, he definitely is better than what the Niners have right now. So
Absolutely.
there's 3 tight ends right there that could be on the market this summer.
Go get me go get me Darren Waller. And I'll be happy. And go get me Darren Waller. I think that'll be good.
I'll tell you another guy who I saw who could be available this summer, and I would be like, go get this guy, and I think you could be a whole lot better, is Jimmy Ward. There's a lot of speculation that the Texans may move on from Jimmy Ward and that he may be a cut down guy. They drafted really well this year.
Yeah.
And if Jimmy Ward were out there, I know him and Kyle had some beef over, was he a nickel? Was he going to be a free safety, and where did he fit in? But man, Jimmy Ward is the kind of all-in football player that, if I was Kyle, I'd be like, you know what, I'll get over it for a guy like that. This guy hits, he runs, he covers. He can play almost every spot back there. I mean, I don't know his health situation, and I know he's a little long in the tooth, but if I could get Jimmy Ward back, I would definitely do it.
Go get it. Running back with Jimmy Ward. I'm going to go DM him tonight. Say, hey, bro, if you got a chance to come back to the Niners, come on back.
The guy's one of my favorites. I remember when he's like, yeah, man, if you hit a guy in his ribs, or if you hit him in his meniscus, he doesn't move quite as well anymore. And I was just like, the way he said it, I was just like, oh my God, this guy's awesome.
It's love.
This guy's an assassin.
I love him.
He's so physical and loves to hit, and he loves the physicality of the game. All right. Sorensen, Staley Sorensen. Man, I just get the vibe that this is going to be this soap opera talking point.
I know.
All season long. It's the setup is weird. The guy who has no experience has the final say. The guy who's a proven coordinator is just now the assistant head coach in charge of defense. These are nebulous titles. Who responds to who? Who's got more clout? Who's got more control? If the shit hits the fan, who's going to take the blame? I mean, I just think that this seems very soap opera-esque, like a soap opera talking point. And I could see this becoming the every week, Sorensen versus Staley. Did you see what Staley said? Did you hear what Fred Warner said about Sorensen? Did you see the look that Staley gave Sorensen after Sorensen?
It's going to be bad.
Raj, I'm picturing a disaster.
I kind of feel the same way. I think if the Niners defense is struggling, I think they're going to say, okay, we can get rid of Sorensen. He doesn't have the experience. Let's just roll. I really think that Kyle wanted to hire Staley, but because Sorensen knows the defense, he's part of the team. It was the right thing to do. You hire within. He knows the scheme. He didn't want to change it because Staley runs a different defense. Why would you bring in another guy to be the assistant to the defensive head coach? Like, it just makes no sense. I hate the whole situation. You got 2 defensive coaches. Kyle's like, all right, just go over there and figure it out, guys. Don't bother me. I know a lot of fans would have hated it. Should have just hired Brandon Staley. Bottom line, still on the team. I think if Kyle really likes this guy, it doesn't matter what we think. If that's your DC, you should have hired him. Because I don't know. I get it. Sorensen's young. We got to give him a chance. This is his first time as a DC. I'm just not sold on the guy. I don't know. This is a Super Bowl team. Is he a Super Bowl caliber defensive coordinator? I don't buy it.
I don't know. I don't want to prejudge it and say he's not.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the setup is weird.
Yeah.
It's like here, the guy with no experience has the final say. The guy with the experience and the success, but in a different scheme, is there looking over his shoulder, and he could help out, but I don't know. It's weird. And it just lends itself to, if the defense doesn't play well, who's to blame, So, and then I can already see all the people talk. Sorensen's looking over his shoulder.
I feel that too, man. Maybe we're looking too much into. Maybe he's gonna be so great. I want him to, but I don't know. I'm not buying. I don't like the vibe. You have 2 guys doing one job. It just, to me, that never goes well. To me, it doesn't go well.
No, I'm with you. Who is, in your mind, the most exciting new 49er? Who are you most Like you're going to be at training camp. I'm going to be at training camp.
Yeah.
We're going to be out there sweating.
Mm-hmm.
Who are we? Who are we going to be saying? Did you see this guy?
I mean,
did you see that?
I'm
Did you
really
see who's the guy that we're? And if we ask if you, and not only who do you want to see, but if you were speaking for Niner fans, because you have a good pulse for Niner fans,
yeah.
who do you think Niner fans are most excited about acquisition wise this offseason?
I think there's two of them. I think offensively, I mean, Ricky Persall. Anytime something news comes about a Ricky Persall, people are high. I mean, he was their first round pick. They haven't had a first round pick in 3 years. I think Ricky Persall is a guy people really want to like. Oh my god, it's good. Anytime I post about him, okay, he looks good. Is he going to be the guy? Like, what's he going to do with Brock? I think Ricky Persall is one guy I'm super excited to see what the hype's all about. You took him in the first round. There was a lot of positions that we could have used. He took a wide receiver, so I'm excited about him. And I said him earlier, Leonard Floyd. I'm so hyped to see this man because, like we said, I think he's the best edge rusher they've paired with Nick Bosa, and I am hyped out of my mind to see this guy. So I think those two guys.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, I'll say this for me. I'm really eager to see Jordan Elliott. I just think Jordan Elliott has always had great quick feet and huge talent. I mean, huge talent, like first round draft choice talent. And he hasn't really fulfilled that potential. But man, that you can see that talent. He's still 310 pounds and moves really well. You know what I mean? So I think he might be a surprise on the defense. And offensively, I'm going to say Cowing. I think Cowing, when you've got that 4.3 speed and you're, a productive receiver, it seems like it's really rare. It's like you have two kinds of receivers. You have the receivers that run really fast and then the receivers who catch really well. And it's very rare that they're the same guy. But with Cowing, he is the same guy. I mean, he catches really well and he runs really fast. So to me, when you have that combo where you've got ball skills and you've production, your 1,000-yard seasons, and then you also run 4.38 with great quickness and measurables that way, I just think that there's no way to lose there. You know what I mean? It's like you showed you could play the game by producing that kind of production. And then you showed that you were an NFL caliber athlete when you went to the combine. And now it's just a matter of get out there on the field with Brock Purdy. I think Purdy to Cowing is going to be a very, very electric combination. I would not be surprised. I know the 49ers fantasy wise are not, they're not a team that you want to grab players from outside of McCaffrey and, because for the most part, they spread the ball around. They're not like a fantasy team where you want to have one of their wide receiver or their running back because they do have a lot of weapons. But I just think Cowing could be monster with the Niners.
All right. Let's see. I'm excited to see. I'm ready to roll. I can't wait for training camp so we can be sweating and seeing all these players and everything. So, who stood out to you today, Larry? Like, if from what you saw, is there any standouts, or if there was any?
Yeah, I mean, I thought the offensive line really looked like there's some real athletes there.
Okay.
Like Pooney looked good, and just watching them move around and just looking at them this year moving around compared to last year, there's just a lot more explosive movement coming out of that part of the field.
Okay.
So I mean, there's not tons you can point to because we're talking about drills and that kind of thing. But I just thought like the offensive line just looks deeper, more talented, more athletic. That's one. And then I think that Pearsall does stand out for his footwork and just kind of his professionalism, the way he kind of moves about the field. He looks like a guy who's pretty experienced. Those guys, that's what pretty much stood out to me. I would say that was it. I mean, I didn't see the D-line drills up close, but I'm thinking that, Shaquille Brown, Evan Anderson, some of the back end of the defensive line is going to be really interesting to see how it's kind of decided this summer because Evan Anderson's a gigantic two-gapper with tons of strength, and Shaquille Brown's crazy athletic at 295 pounds. There's some interesting prospects there on the back end of that defensive line. So I think some of those guys are going to come of age. Other than that, I would say, Garendo, to me looks like, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what he is, but he just seems like he's going to be a difference maker because he's so big and so fast. It's like, is he a receiver? I mean, he's a really good receiving, big running back who can block. So it's, he's intriguing. He's really intriguing.
I like it. Yeah, it's good stuff all around.
All right, let's hit two supers and we'll jet here, and you can read them for us here. We have got, what's this one? Juan
Neri says, does Brock Purdy not drink? I don't know if you saw the video that went crazy over the weekend. Luke Combs, George Kittle, Brock Purdy, Levi Stadium. Kittle was shotgunning beers, and you have Purdy handing them out to Stone Cold Kittle. Brock Purdy's a man of Christ. He's like, we all know he's really into his faith and religion and everything. I don't think he drinks. He was making sure Kittle had his moment. I don't think.
You don't think he drinks at all?
I don't think he drinks at all.
Really?
I think he was happy to see George Kittle have his time and, do what he had to do. He was his hype man. He's here, have another one. Have another one. He was handing them out.
Brock Purdy's having fun, isn't he?
He loved it. I love it.
We got this one from 49er_throwback.
Yeah, 49ers throwback. He says, how did Isaac Garendo and Cody Schrader look today? You mentioned Isaac. So what up, Cody?
I just think Garendo is just such a big, rangy athlete. He's just, he's long, he's fast, he's powerful, he's impressive. When you watch him in person, you're like, wow, this guy could help them in a lot of different ways. He might be a receiver. He might be, maybe a little bit of Ricky Waters. I don't know. I mean, he's an interesting.
Good comp.
He's an interesting guy because he looks like a fullback. He has a fullback number, but he's got the speed of a game-breaking running back.
I like it. I like the comp. Ricky Waters.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Cody Schrader reminds me a lot of Blake Corum. The more I watch Cody Schrader, the more I see Blake Corum. They're both 5'8", 5'9", compact build. They keep the legs churning. They're great. They take great angles. I loved Blake Corum, and I really wanted the Niners to get him. And then ever since the draft, every time I watch highlights of Cody Schrader, I see Blake Corum. They're very similar players. They're very, very similar.
And we got the Walmart version. I love it.
Yeah, exactly.
Go, baby.
And we got this one too from Blood Moon.
Thoughts, predictions on super cuts.
On
supers cuts.
Super cuts. It's a decent place to get your hair cut. I mean, yeah, you definitely want to tip. On cuts, on surprise cuts, maybe.
Surprise cuts. That's probably what he meant. Yeah.
Well, okay. So let's just quickly go through it. I think there's a chance Tanner Mordecai beats out Brandon Allen. I think there's a chance. I think Tanner Mordecai looks pretty good to me. Even in this setting, he looked pretty good.
Wow.
So that would save the Niners a little bit of money. That could be a surprise cut, Brandon Allen. But also, Brandon Allen could wind up being the number 2 quarterback and beating out Dobbs. So, I mean, anything could happen there. But I think that's a spot. Running back, do they, is Garendo a fullback? Is he a cheaper replacement for Juice? At some point, they're going to move on from Juice.
That's true.
And it seems like Garendo is the kind of guy that I would move on from Juice for because he's fast, he's young, he's powerful. So that, Juice could be a surprise cut.
Okay.
If wide receiver wise, there's going to be some really good players cut. Ronnie Bell, Chris Conley, Trent Taylor, Tay Martin, all those guys could wind up being cut.
That's true.
So I mean that's an interesting spot because they're really, really deep there. And then defensive line, I think there's a chance that like Kalia Davis loses his job. if Shaquille Brown or Evan Anderson. I think they'll go with 5 defensive tackles, and probably the first 4 are going to be Hargrave and Collins, and then Jordan Elliott and probably Givens. So those are your 4 defensive tackles. They're probably going to keep one more. So if it's Evan Anderson, if it's Shaquille Brown, it could be T.Y. McGill. It could be, you know what I mean? I think that could be a surprise if Kalia Davis gets cut.
I think so too. He'll probably end up practice squad, honestly.
And maybe some corner. I mean, there's a very good chance that the way it looks right now that Ambry Thomas could get cut.
Oh, that's not a surprise. He's getting Larry.
You think so?
Thomas,
I mean, he was a 3rd-round pick.
Yeah, he was. So was Cam Latu. Those guys, they got to pick it up.
Cam Latu could be cut.
Oh, he's definitely getting cut. He didn't show up today. He's getting cut, man.
Yeah. Will he be there tomorrow?
He better be, bro. Kyle Shanahan 2 weeks ago when he had his press conference, I think it was after OTA or rookie minicamp, and they asked him. Remember we talked about it? They said, well, what about Cam Latu? He goes,
is he the number 2 tight end? He's like, no, he's not.
He doesn't. He said he needs to come to practice. He didn't come to practice today.
He goes, usually you got to practice first.
That man is so far in the doghouse, it's not even funny.
Seriously. His name's not even on the outside. He's just like in a random doghouse. It's not even his doghouse. Yeah, you can tell. I mean, that's the thing. If the 49ers could add a player between now and camp, somebody asked me, like, what position would I think they would add? It might be tight end. I could see them maybe adding a tight end. I could see them maybe adding a free safety. They seem a little thin at safety, a little thin at tight end, very deep at corner, deep at linebacker, deep on the defensive line, though you could always add another edge. Deep on the offensive line, even though maybe not as quality as you want, but thin at tight end, deep at receiver, deep at quarterback, deep at running back. So it's tight end, free safety, defensive end. Those are the only, and I say defensive end just because if Beal doesn't come of age and Jackson doesn't come of age, they're going to need somebody.
Yeah.
They're going to need somebody. So we'll see how it all shakes out.
It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, no, seriously. All right, that's going to do it for us. Thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being the title sponsor of the Krueger Show. Thanks to Raj. Thanks to all of you guys. Raj, what do you got cooking the rest of the week? Where can we find you? Oh, wait, one more super here. One more super.
It says Larry is amazing, talking San Francisco 49ers and all NFL from the Postman in Capitola.
Postman in Capitola. We love you, brother. Thank you. Love Capitola, man. How great is Capitola?
Good times. Maybe I'll go there this weekend, Memorial Day weekend. Maybe I'll hit up the beach this weekend.
Seriously, is that your beach of choice, Capitola?
No, my favorite beach out here is, if I'm not in San Diego, that's the best beach.
Yeah. I mean, we're Pacific Beach. We're all taking Pacific Beach.
Yeah. It's Pacifica. Pacifica's the best. The one with the Taco
really
Bell. Pacifica with the Taco Bell. That is the place to be. You go have your Taco Bell. You got the waves right there. That's the place.
It's a little windy. It's a little cold. I'll say this.
Taco Bell on the beach, man.
I know. That's a good spot. It's a good spot.
Yeah.
But if you go further down the coast, there is a beach about 20 minutes south or 25 minutes south of Pacifica called San Gregorio Beach.
Okay, I've been there before. Yeah,
you've been, and it has a lagoon.
Yeah, lagoon. Yeah.
And so you bring the dog can kind of like chase frisbees in the lagoon, and the lagoon's good if you got babies. Don't worry about them getting taken out to sea.
Yeah.
And then you got that's a little south. That's a little further south. It's a little bit further south of the fog line.
Yeah. I've been to like pretty much every beach in the Bay Area, San Francisco, Pacifica, Santa Clara, or not Santa Clara.
Do you have a favorite Southern Cal beach?
Oh man,
there's some beautiful ones down there.
Probably
we went down to Cal Poly. We went to Avila Beach.
Okay,
which is central, really nice. Pismo Beach, very nice as well.
Pismo's nice.
Pismo's nice.
The big
Santa Barbara,
Huntington, all the local tourist spots.
Laguna,
Laguna's
Huntington.
Nice. Huntington. Laguna's nice. We used to live out in Laguna.
I'll tell you my favorite beach. I kind of like what's the beach down by Redondo? I like
Oh,
Redondo Beach.
good one. That's a good
Have
one.
you seen Redondo in Southern
I've been to
Cal in
Redondo.
LA?
Yeah, we used to drive
That's a
down
nice.
there.
That's a nice little spot right there,
That's a
Redondo.
good one. My favorite beaches out though in California though are in San Diego, man. They got the
Now,
best.
which one are you talking about? Now,
I
are you
think
talking about Pacific Beach, Mission Beach? What
they're
do you? What
all
do
of
you?
them, man. You can't. All of them are great.
Pacific Beach is pretty
Pacific-
spectacular.
Yeah, it's great, man. It's good
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
San Diego, you go to any beach in San Diego, you're gonna have a great time. Now, the best beach I've ever been to though, ever in my life, is out in Spain, man. I went to Madrid one year. Oh my god, that was the best beach ever of all time. The best beach.
Okay,
ever.
I'll see your Spain and I'll raise you. We stayed at the Westin Hapuna Beach in the Big Island in Hawaii.
Okay.
White sand, warm water, unbelievable waves. Can't beat it.
You can't, Madrid might beat it. I don't know. Madrid's pretty damn good.
White sand, warm water.
Warm water, beautiful people. It's great. A good time.
Look at you. Look at you.
Good time.
All right, that's going to do it for us. Thanks to Raj. Thanks to all you guys. Go Niners. I'll be back in Santa Clara tomorrow. We'll bring you more coverage of minicamp tomorrow. Join me on the Krueger Show. Until then, peace.
Yeah, never met a man I've been